Welcome to Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis. Thanks for joining us here, and happy Cinco de Mayo to you. It's Tuesday. Taco Tuesday falls on Cinco de Mayo. We can't go anywhere to get out, but Brittany Pacheco joins us, my co-host, and it's kind of a bummer we can't go anywhere on Cinco de Mayo, Brittany.
Good morning, Todd. Yes, it is a little bit of a bummer that we can't fully enjoy Taco Tuesday on this Cinco de Mayo day, but I did see a funny meme yesterday, since yesterday was May the 4th in honor of Star Wars Day, and today is Cinco de Mayo. So it said, when May the 4th and Cinco de Mayo fall during quarantine, and it's Juan Solo. You see a figure of a individual, but his name is Juan Solo. Anyway, so good morning, everyone joining us on Facebook Live. We appreciate you being here with us this morning. Be sure to like our Facebook page as well as our Instagram and Twitter pages. Also, head over to YouTube where you can find thousands of HCC videos produced by our very own HCCTV. And be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to find out the latest from HCC.
Well, Brittany, we've got some great guests on the show today. We're going to be talking about the restaurant and hospitality industry and how they are dealing with this COVID-19 crisis. And I also want to welcome right now Chef Katie Rangel. She is from the Pastry Arts program at Houston Community College, the Culinary School. Chef, you guys just opened up a brand new culinary school over at Central, and you haven't been able to spend that much time in there yet.
Yeah, we got about half a semester in before spring break and quarantine, and we've been told we cannot enter just yet. So hopefully some of the chefs may get slight access this summer, but our lab classes have been canceled for this summer. It's all online, and we've transferred all of our classes 100% online for the remaining of this spring semester. Hopefully we'll be back in the fall.
Things are certainly changing, and we're also want to welcome Steve Salzman. And Steve, welcome to you. You're up in the Woodlands, and you're the general manager and chief operating officer of the club at Carlton Woods in the Woodlands. But most importantly, you're on our advisory committee for the hospitality and restaurant industry for Houston Community College.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. I was fortunate enough to tour the new facility some months ago. It was still in the finishing touch-up stages. Truly a world-class facility, and I've really enjoyed my short time now as an advisory board member, and hope that becomes more fruitful and hopefully a lot more interactive and personal front-facing. We've actually had a couple meetings now through Zoom teleconferencing, and we're all getting a lot more accustomed to this as the new normal.
It certainly is. It's the new normal for now, but things are changing. And Chef, you were talking about how the classes are changing. What's been the reaction to the faculty at the new center with the online instruction delivery? What's been the feedback you've been getting so far?
So our chefs firmly believe that hands-on is the best and not the only way, but the best way for students to learn. So it's been a bit of a learning curve for us because our courses are so hands-on. We had our ACF accreditation site visit this spring, and they said we are one of the top pastry and culinary schools in the nation, that the depth that we go into with the students, the topics that we cover, the thoroughness that we have is very, very great. So we felt okay with letting off the gas a little bit in the spring semester and transitioning online because we had covered so much content in the first 8 weeks. And we're learning this new model of, can students create product at home? And if you do a demonstration and give them technical steps, can they finish product at home? And we're seeing good results. There's some people have a better strategy or setup at home than others, but it teaches you ingenuity and how do you make those adjustments in the field when you get a pastry job, and maybe you don't have all of the equipment and tools. What adjustments do you need to make to still be successful?
Well, you guys have a new, which I personally haven't had a chance to go check it out myself, but I'm looking forward to as soon as we get back in those buildings. But I understand you've got a live stream and broadcast studio in one of your kitchens there, a lab set up where it's built so where you can do live streaming from.
Yes, and over the summer, we're going to be working on a little bit more of that sort of instructor recorded content as a library for the students to access in the future. So even though has been a bit of a challenge. It's really made us broaden our scope and try new things and keep doing things that we wouldn't normally be doing. So I think that eventually it's just going to help our program continue to grow.
As you guys are growing, sooner or later, hopefully sooner, in the next month or two, maybe a few months, we're going to be back in those buildings, maybe in a limited fashion. Things are going to look completely different. But what do you think you've learned from this shutdown and new way of doing things that we can incorporate as we move forward in your instruction delivery?
Well, we've got to incorporate a lot of new things. I mean, I'm sure when you ask Steve here in a few moments, there's a whole learning curve that our industry is going through. We're not just going to come back to the norm that everybody has been used to. It's going to look a little different and be a little different. And so we're still figuring some of those things out. Like you said, our labs are going to be about half the size as they were previously until the CDC has some different guidelines of social distancing. So, we're learning, how does to-go fit in? How does curbside service fit in? How does a socially distanced restaurant look compared to how do you work in that environment? How do you keep do you have to wear a face mask? What other guidelines are going to be put into place that we have to follow and now incorporate into our students' learning?
Steve, you mentioned just now a new normal, and you and I were talking just a few moments ago, just before we went on the air. But just to recap, I had a chance to go to a restaurant over the weekend in the Kirby area, and it looked quite different. There was partitions at the bar. It looked more like a teller window where you'd order your drinks through a little hole. It was surrounded by plexiglass. People are getting very creative during this time just so they can get their business back. But it's very challenging when you can only operate with 25% capacity.
Yeah, and as we discussed, the profit margins in the restaurant industry are so small. People are operating now just to get back into their routine so that as they can put back additional cover counts, they'll be good at it again. We've all been off enough now that we've been a little bit rusty and gotten a little bit rusty. My biggest fear with the slow comeback is, we're hospitable people. We care about people. We like to shake hands. We like to interact. And that's going to be the hardest thing for us to withdraw with this increased spacing model. Tables 10 feet apart, no greater table than 6. But, the comeback, honestly, is going to be long for our industry. And that's what I think students should be aware of also, is make yourself very employable, because the day of the 50-person party or 100-person party, 200-person party is going to be even slower to come back, particularly when you think of the number of people employed in the hotel industry. You need those hotels full so they can be doing different meetings and gatherings. I mean, just think of wedding receptions of 100, 200 people. All of these things are going to be very slow to come back based on CDC guidelines. And we're all in this together, and we all need to figure it out together. But, I've experienced, I like to think I'm a social person because, I always look at hospitality as a business degree with a smile. And I go to these grocery stores and there's this plexiglass between me and the teller. And I'm just like going, I hate this. I hate this for us as a people, because I believe we're made to be together. We're made to talk. We're made to be close. We're made to shake hands and tap somebody on the shoulder and let them know that something's great or something's going to be okay. And to figure out how to do that from this distance is going to be a challenge.
The club at Carlton Woods, maybe you can tell us how you guys have survived over the past couple of months and what your new normal looks like, when you're planning on opening, if you're doing curbside. How is that working?
We are, we never really did to-go service. We never did delivery service prior to this. But, basically on essentially March 12th, we were told no more inside utilization. So, we have 60,000 square feet under roof. And for this to be an empty cavern is not normal. We instantly turned on to-go and pickup curbside service, which actually we have seen about 65% of our normal food and beverage business continue through to-go. And then we turned on delivery to just enhance that a little bit further. To-go and curbside are part of our future for at least another year, until hopefully they let us gather again in rooms. The other thing is getting creative with golf course service I hate to say something as basic as putting a grill and cooler outside manned with a culinary person to deliver some level of food service on the golf courses. Things that you would not necessarily equate with Carlton Woods prior to COVID-19.
Chef, what are you telling your students? What is their feedback during this? Obviously, the industry's changing. A lot of them are not working right now if they're working in the service industry. Are they nervous? Are they optimistic? Are they adapting to the change?
I think they're nervous and a little probably unsure, but it's such a double-edged sword, because the week after this all started, you go into the grocery store, there's no meat, there's no prepared food, there's no bread, right? So if you're a culinary student, good for you, because you know how to do those things at home, and most people by and large do not know how to do a lot of those things at home. Mm-hmm. So it's essential in that matter. It's essential, like Steve's saying, to have a group of friends and to have a family get together and to celebrate. And food is so emotional, right? But it's changing. And so this is a whole new page that nobody's been on, and it's going to move forward. But there is a lot of uncertainty, and how is it going to move forward? Nobody has those answers yet. We're figuring that out. You look at Hugo's restaurant group, for example, in Houston, they're serving family meals at HEB for pickup. I mean, that is such a new page. They're trying to keep their staff employed. They're trying to keep their restaurant afloat. And like Steve said, maybe it's catering to a smaller group or to a smaller function or more personalized service, but that's just the first beginning in the next year, right? That's just surviving until we figure out more and more accessibility and what to do.
Steve, back to you. It is, Katie just struck a note with that surviving for now. Mm-hmm. What we're doing now is probably going to be totally different than what we're doing a year from now. And the uncertainty of this situation in your industry, because we don't know where we're going to go in a couple of months or a year from now. What is the feeling among your cohorts and your colleagues in the industry? You've got to stay optimistic to keep your employees optimistic during these troubled times.
Indeed. And one thing I'd like to add to what Chef Katie just said there too is with the uncertainty, I should mention we've sold over $30,000 to our members of Lysol products, paper towels, toilet paper, wipes, and hand sanitizer. I've never offered that kind of service, but kind of becoming this retail center for people that can't get it in the grocery stores. Coffee became a problem for a while there, so we started grinding coffee and selling that to our members just so they'd have some at take home. Getting to the uncertainty for employees, the advice I'd give is don't wait and be a go-to player. I'm sure some folks that are probably listening to us have been temporarily furloughed or laid off. Make sure you're reaching out to your supervisor and expressing your willingness to get back in the game, so to speak. Because those choices are going to have to be made. When I can only serve 25 or 50% of my former client load, I only need about 25 or 50% of my employee load. So it's important. The other thing is, for all those folks, it's going to be pretty slow to come back because you have a la carte servers, you have banquet servers. Until your banquets get going, there's going to be a lot of people that are slow to return. So make yourself an impact player. And if you don't think that you're going to get recalled, there's going to be a lot of opportunity out there because of this also. There's going to be a great shuffle of employees in our industry. This might be a great time to start looking at that other venue or other company that you are interested in, just to raise your hand and say, if you're interested, I would really like to talk to you about this, because we're all making these decisions right now of how are we going to go forward and what's it going to look like.
I called up one of my restaurants the other day just to see if when they were going to be opening this past weekend, if they were going to be opening. And I talked to the owner, and he said something that really struck me as well. He said, "I'd love to open right now, but we could only fit about 4 tables in with a 25% capacity. And quite honestly, my guys are making more in unemployment than I could bring them back." Are restaurants going to be facing that problem when they do reopen of finding employees again? Is that going to be an issue?
Yes, I mean that's a challenge we're facing now as we're starting to recall employees through July 31st. You know, they're being made whole on what their average rate was, plus about $600 a week. So they're making more by not coming to work. And we don't want to harm our employees either. So we're trying to figure out, you know, a way to enhance the compensation for those that are coming back off of furlough for us. You know, it's interesting because that's here we are in this hospitality industry. You know, think about your own dining room table. I mean, if you're used to having 4 chairs at your table, take 3 of them away.
Yeah.
And that's what dinner hour now looks like in a restaurant. It's an unprecedented time. And, you know, as far as employees, I think here again, look at the long game. July 31st is coming before you know it. And while it feels probably pretty good between now and July 31st, all of a sudden when the unemployment goes back to normal and those benefits aren't that great, and now you're without a roof, and knowing that there's a slow growth in this industry that we all call home right now, get yourself back attached to your employer and be excited about it. Be glad to be back at work because I'll tell you, it's hard not to hug some of my employees as I see them coming back. I dearly love all of them, and I've missed seeing them. And the ones that we recalled 10 last week, and we're going to be recalling 25 more in another week. And it was so great to see them. And it's challenging times for all of us.
Chef, having folks like Steve and Hugo and folks on the advisory committees, those have got to be invaluable to you guys, and especially in times like these to gauge how the industry is functioning.
Yeah, and I think I've been listening to more podcasts in the last few weeks, a month, than I ever have before. There's a few, like What's Eating Eric. He's a local food writer, works for Culture Map Houston or something like that, but he has a lot of industry folks come and talk about their current situation and how they're kind of navigating. And I think that's so important. I've been sharing that with my students. Listen to this, you know, get some kind of handle on what people are doing and what the new world looks like. David Chang has a podcast that's more national for the food industry and has famous chefs and people that are influential, have meetings with the government on how this is all going to go forward, what they need to know or be aware of. So being in touch and keep researching and, you know, looking at the small business loans and the unemployment circumstance and really trying to understand, even though I'm an instructor and I'm teaching, really trying to understand how to help these students navigate once they leave our program.
Steve, one final question. There's a projection I just read yesterday that possibly in California, maybe they're looking at 70% of restaurants going out of business, not being able to recover from this. Are you seeing that? And, and I guess it's tough to feel optimistic when you see something like that or read those statistics.
Well, you know, I'm blessed to be, I don't want to say immune from that, but I have several different businesses operating simultaneously, being a private club, with golf, with sports, with tennis. Obviously, Dues Line drives our economic engine. But hospitality is something that everybody does at my club, so it's a big, important factor. And when you hear numbers like the average small business restaurant has a week and a half worth of reserve cash, without PPP, which has arguably worked well for some, but not all. If you were unable to get in line for that and get funded, you're probably out of luck at this point in time. SBA loans are available. I've actually filed for one of those, but you will have no luck talking to somebody for a long time. I get updates that say I'm in the queue and somebody's going to contact me eventually. I fear that statistic is correct because not only is the small business doesn't have the cash to sustain itself, with 25% or 50% occupancy at a restaurant that holds maybe 20 tables or less, you just can't do enough volume at 25 or 50%, particularly when you can't have a thriving bar business, which we all know is where the profit center lies. I'm an optimistic person, but I fear what you said is correct, and that's going to be a shame. It's going to be a shame for our industry.
It certainly is a shame for our industry, and I guess the silver lining under all of this is, we came back from 9/11. A lot of restaurants went away, with business went down, but things got stronger, and you hope that's certainly encouraging, as it's one day we will come back stronger. We'll be doing things differently, as both of you mentioned, but we sure are hoping we're coming back stronger. Steve Salzman, the General Manager and CEO of the club at Carlton Woods in the Woodlands, thanks for being here, and thank you for serving on the advisory committee for Houston Community College.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed being with you all.
Thank you. And Chef Katie, we're looking forward to seeing you back in that building. I want to come by there when we can get in. Maybe this summer but I think we have some projects lined up with you guys, and we're one way or another we're going to get in that broadcast.
We are.
Thanks a lot, and tell everybody we said hello. You're always welcome here. Will do. And Brittany Pacheco is joining us now. Brittany, some sobering news what's going on in the industry right now, and it's really it's troubling to all of us because Houston is a foodie city. We're known for our restaurants, and we were really on the upturn before all this happened.
One word: Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
I miss going to the Mexican restaurants, especially on this Taco Tuesday, the Cinco de Mayo. But you know what? I am very grateful for all the restaurants who have made those accommodations for curbside pickup and even delivery through other apps who provide that kind of service. So it's great. I'm absolutely very grateful and very much willing to support the small businesses out there, because they really are going to need our support at this time while we're just trekking through this crisis right now. But speaking of Cinco de Mayo, Student Life is actually hosting a mariachis and mocktails today, virtual Cinco de Mayo fiesta. So please join us today at noon. It's free. You can join in and dance while learning how to make mocktails. This is a family-friendly event, it sounds like. So be sure to follow our Facebook page to check out that graphic. Again, it's happening today at noon, hosted by Student Life. Join us for mariachis and mocktails. I'm looking forward to that very much so. Trivia time, guys. What does Cinco de Mayo signify? Anyone know? Chef
Katie, I'm going to call on her.
I think it's a Mexican independence, isn't it?
Ooh, incorrect.
That's the American version.
I would say that's more or less America's excuse to party. No, actually, the Cinco de Mayo holiday is significant for the Battle of Puebla. Battle of Puebla took place back in the 1800s. I think it's like 1862, and it took place near the city of Puebla, and it was during the Second French intervention in Mexico, and actually it signifies the Mexicans' victory against the French army. So
now I know three things about Puebla: mole, the Battle of Puebla, and Volkswagen Beetles.
The more you know.
There you go. Thank you, Professor Brittany.
Sometimes I know things, sometimes I don't. Moving on. So, but this is very exciting that Student Life is still engaging with their students to bring you all some entertainment today. So be sure, again, to follow us on Facebook and check out that flyer posted by Student Life today at noon.
Yeah, we always get to give those guys a shout out because they do their live stream every Monday at noon here on the HCC Facebook page. They do a great job, but they're also continuing with activities online. Just because we can't be there in person doesn't mean they've just packed up shop for the semester. Those guys are got activities for you online, like Cinco de Mayo and more. Really, several times a week they have activities for you.
They do. They host a bingo night every Wednesday evening, so that's fun. And I'm sure they've got a lot more stuff up their sleeves. We just have to tune in and find out.
So, Brittany, one of the big things too, and Chef, we've got registration underway, and you guys are, Chef Katie, you have courses you're going to be delivering online for the summer, correct? And you're taking registration for that right now?
So all of our courses for the spring have transitioned online. We are doing some courses online for the summer, and in the fall we have registration open for reduced size lab classes. And we are possibly putting some of those labs online as well, but that's still a little to be determined. Registration just opened yesterday. Like you said, we're navigating this new path. So we have our schedule up currently, and then yes, we are more than likely going to have some labs online.
One of the biggest things I hear from students who've gone through HCC, not only your program but others, is the fact that we have smaller size classes. These small size labs are like a dream come true for somebody who wants the one-on-one activity of learning with you guys in person.
Yeah, so typically we are one instructor in a class of 20 to 24 students, and with the CDC guidelines, we're going to be one instructor with 9 students. Wow. So that's really small, really personal. You get a whole workstation, all the tools to yourself. So it's going to be interesting, but hopefully we'll also be able to offer that same coursework online where students are able to work with us one-on-one through our learning management system and do the recipes and some of the techniques at home as well. So we'll see about that part.
And you can sign up for the Culinary Arts program for the fall classes right now, Brittany. Which website do they go to for all the registration?
So yes, summer and fall registration are officially open as of yesterday. So be sure to head over to hccs.edu/now for all that good stuff.
We've got a graduation ceremony coming up, commencement on May the 22nd. It's all going to be virtual online. It's going to look great. I can tell you that right now. We've got a team of a crew working on that to make sure we deliver the best for you. And you can watch it live on that date virtually on May the 22nd. And to go to any information on graduation, it's very easy. hccs.edu/graduation is the website. And during this crisis, Brittany, there's a couple of websites that our student, faculty, and staff can visit for information on the COVID crisis.
Absolutely. So the latest announcements from HCC can be found all under one URL. And that's actually the URL that's right underneath me right at this moment. So stay informed. Go to hccs.edu/health-notice, again, for all the latest announcements from the college. And students, we have resources available right at your fingertips. Head over to hccs.edu/COVID-19 students if you have questions dealing with financial aid, your disbursements, testing. I know we've had a lot of questions on social media about when the testing centers are going to open again for the TSI exams. And so all that information can be found again at one location. Again, that's hccs.edu/COVID-19 students. And if you do have a very case-specific question, you can head over to our virtual lobby, and that can be found in the green banner on all of our HCC pages, or at the very bottom where you see 4 blue buttons, and it's the button farthest to the right. Again, that's our virtual lobby. If you have a very specific question that caters to you that needs to be addressed, fill out that form, and an HCC team member will get back to you as soon as possible.
And that about wraps things up for the show. Thanks, Brittany, for filling us in all the details and social media and everything people need to know with websites and where to visit. And Chef Katie, we appreciate you being here. We look forward to seeing you again in person and having you on the show once again. We'd like to get you here more often when you have time.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'll see you guys soon.
All right, thanks, Chef. And thank you for joining us on Up to the Minute. Tomorrow on Wednesday, we have Dr. Shantae Grays. She'll be here to give an update on the virtual graduation we were all talking about. And also, it's Wednesdays with the Chief Greg Cunningham, HCC Police. He'll be joining us to make his weekly visit. Thanks for joining us today on Up to the Minute. I'm Todd Duplantis. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.